We're going to be talking about the dynamic purchasing system today, which we've recently procured. We've got Emily Molden, who's one of our senior category managers. Is that right, Emily? Have I got your job title right? From Oldham.
Senior category manager.
Good, good. So Emily's on the call with us, and she's going to be explaining about the dynamic purchasing system. But before I invite Emily to speak, let's give a little bit of background as to where this came from. So a couple of years ago, the network realised that a lot of our members wanted to be able to draw down really cutting edge policy support, and there was no frameworks out there at the time to do this. We recognise that councils often need to move really quickly and flexibly when it comes to doing things differently. So a good example was in Oldham, we were doing quite a few pieces of work at the time where we were prototyping quite new ways of working. And often these involved using quite small pots of money, and we needed to see results really fast. So we wanted a way of being able to draw down people like the collaborates of this world or the behaviour sort of scientists of this world to do those pieces of work for us. So the CCIN basically set out to start to develop a framework which would have this specific expertise on to allow us to do this. And we basically did an exercise a couple of years ago where we developed a framework, and it was used quite widely by the network. However, that framework expired, and this is where we then decided to develop a dynamic purchasing system, which Emily's going to explain a bit more about and talk through some of the benefits of. So rather than me carrying on, I'm just going to hand over to Emily to talk to us a little bit about it. And I think there's a slide deck which Nicola's going to manage for Emily and just take us through. So we'll take some questions at the end. Just to say, if there's anyone on the call who doesn't see themselves on the list of attendees, which Nicola shared earlier, which we're going to circulate, it'd be great if you could just drop your name in the chat box too, on the right hand side of the screen, just so we've got an accurate record of who's been on the call today. That'd be great, thank you. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Emily.
Hi everybody, apologies, Nicola is going to be doing the slideshow because I'm not able to share my screen, so I will be, at the end of every slide I will be saying, Nicola, can you please click over to the next one, so apologies for that. But yeah, as Jonathan said, my name's Emily Molden. I'm a Senior Category Manager at Oldham Council. And I've been asked to, I helped Jonathan put these DPS together, and I've just been asked to go through the DPS and provide you with an overview of how it works. Next slide, please. So what is DPS? So for those of you who don't know, DPS stands for Dynamic Purchasing System, and it's an electronic system that's used to purchase goods, services or works, but unlike kind of a traditional framework, which quite a few of you will probably be aware of, so, suppliers can apply to join at any time. So with a framework, you'll have kind of an end date, and then that's it. If no one if a supplier hasn't bid to get on that framework, then they can't get onto it. But with this DPS, it's a live system, open all the time. So as the next bullet point says, it's an open market solution designed to provide buyers with an access to a pool of pre-qualified suppliers. So we will assess those providers on their kind of previous experience and things like that, and then they'll then be awarded if suitable and on the DPS. It is currently being advertised on the CHEST at the moment, which is the Oldham's e-procurement portal. I know that some of you might use the CHEST, others will use other systems, but if you do want to find any more information, then the link's there, so you can have a look at that. Next slide, please. So just quickly going through the advantages of a DPS and probably giving you some background of why we decided to do a DPS, was that it's once the DPS is set up, it's quick and easy. So there's shorter time scales, and there's no need to go out to OJU if one of your schemes was of that kind of spend. You don't need to go through the whole rigmarole of setting up an advert of 30 days. It can be a lot shorter. And as I said in the previous slide, the system remains open to new suppliers. So it's giving buyers access to fresh and innovative ideas. As you know, the world is constantly changing. At the moment, we're going through a very difficult phase. So we need suppliers and new suppliers who can react to those to help us get through them. And with having that flexibility of new suppliers being able to get on the system, we can then get access to those. Off the top of my head, I think we've maybe got 20 suppliers on it at the moment. It could be in 12 months' time we have 40 suppliers. So that pool of suppliers, it could constantly grow. Cost savings as well, because I'll go through it in the next couple of slides. The way that you'll need to access this is to run a mini competition or a mini tender. So suppliers constantly competing with each other, and it has been proven that it'll drive down costs, things like that. So there could potentially be some cost savings there. More accessible for SMEs, because they'll only need to kind of go through one bidding process, and then they'll just then be able to kind of go into those projects that they want to bid for, with a shorter, less administrative process. And just finally, because the DPS is managed through the chest, or it's an electronic system, it's fully auditable. So you're able to, to go back if your audit teams need to look at anything, or you need to. It's all there on the system for you. Next slide, please. So this DPS, the CCIN consultancy DPS, has been split into two lots. So the first lot is policy development and testing, and the second lot is capacity building. So this is based on requirements, or decide which lot best fits their requirements. I think there is some more information on the CCI website that you can look at. The DPS runs from the 1st of April 2020 till the 30th of March 2025. So we've got a 5-year period, because as with a framework, you're only able to have a maximum of 4. With a DPS, there is kind of no kind of maximum length. So we went for a few years, and the potential maximum value of it is 30 million. Now I know that sounds quite a lot, and it possibly is, but it just gives us that flexibility over the 5-year period. If the membership of the CCIN increases, we've got that 30 million there. Next slide, please, Nicola. So getting on to how to use the DPS, like I said, it is set up on the CHESS portal, which Oldham Council use, and I think quite a lot of the North West authorities use. I'm not sure about some of the other ones, but if you are on the CHESS, then there is a way that you can copy the DPS onto your portal and run your mini competitions. Obviously, if you don't use the CHESS, then you can just use your own portal. Sorry. The only thing that I would maybe ask is, if you are using your own portal, if you could just let me know, just so that I can kind of monitor the use of the DPS, so that when we come to re-procure it, I've got that management information in the background. Mini competition or mini tender process should be used at all times. Direct award is not an option with the DPS, and you have to invite all suppliers on the lots when you're going out to mini competition. Next slide, please. So there is a bit of a guide on the website which kind of like breaks the process down. But this is just a quick run through of each of those steps. So step 1, and apologies if you are, because I'm sure that a lot of you will know exactly what to do, but I just wanted to kind of just give an overview. So I just do a quick run through. So setting up your specification, outlining your requirements, just put a list there of the things that I would be advising to put in a spec. So information about the project, timescales, aims, objectives, KPIs, milestones, outputs, costs, that kind of thing. You want to give the suppliers as much information as possible so that they can then give you quality bids that meet your requirements. Next slide, please, Nicola. Step 2 is the mini competition stage. So if people need to help on kind of putting together a mini competition document, they can let me know. But what I would include in the mini competition is the specification, your evaluation criteria, so how technical questions, social value questions, and the pricing cost section. You need to provide information about how the bids will be evaluated. So at Oldham we use a marking scheme of say 0 to 10, but it could be 0 to 5, however you do that, and those weightings of how they're split, and the closing time date. The evaluation criterion is up to the authority. So the quality can be anywhere between 0 and 100% social value. So you've got that flexibility where you're able to put how you feel you want those weightings to be based on. And sufficient time should be given to suppliers to prepare and submit the bids. Kind of recommend 2 weeks minimum. But then I suppose it just depends on your requirement, how big the project is, that type of thing, because you wouldn't, you want quality bids at the end of the day. So it's kind of, using common sense, and it's entirely up to you. Next slide, please. We're nearly at the end. Just the step 2 mini competition continued. So the bids should be evaluated in the way described in the documents, or bidders treated equally and fairly. The acceptance and rejection letters will be drafted once that evaluation process is done, and the rejection letters must include the scores of the bids and constructive feedback detailing the relevant advantages of the successful bid. You probably do this already, but it's just so that we're giving those suppliers who haven't been successful an idea of how that they can then improve. So we're trying to kind of like help suppliers and work with them along the way. And that is it for me on my bit. So I think, Jonathan, if you've got any questions, let me know now, or my email address is on there, so email me. I'm happy to answer anything.
Can I ask a question, Emily? Sorry, it's Matt King from Bristol City Council.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
So I was just wanting to just kind of clarify. So I think you kind of, in terms of the format of the mini comp, you're very much kind of leaving it to the individual users to kind of determine what that looks like. So it isn't kind of laid down as part of the DPS as to what we need to do. It's very much kind of for us to decide. If we want to do it 0 to 5, then not a problem. It's basically we're just running the mini comp from within the DPS, and the providers on that DPS are well aware that they might get different formats of stuff through. And
I mean, as what I would say is, as long as you're clear about how you're going to do it, then I don't see there being an issue, because at the end of the day, it kind of doesn't really, 0 to 5 or 0 to 10, to me, it's going to bring this a very similar outcome. So I just think, as long as you're upfront with how you're going to do it, then I don't see there being an issue. Obviously, if something came up and there was, then please let me know, and I can we can work and sort that out. But yeah, you know, I was just setting up the DPS and kind of leaving the mini competition process up, because I know that, you know, the essentials will be the same of the process, but I know that authorities work in very different ways, and so I just wanted to give that flexibility to the authorities, because at the end of the day, I want this DPS to work for you as well as for it to work for us. So like I said, if there are any issues, or so, you know, some bidders that aren't very happy there or whatever, then please let me know, and you know, we'll work with you to rectify any issues.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's mainly that obviously if the providers are expecting that, then there's not a problem. So I just wanted to kind of double check that was the case. I did have another question. Sorry, it was really
no problem.
Sorry, so a more general one, really, about what sort of projects and stuff you see this being used for. And I know it's probably quite broad, but it kind of just give me a bit of a flavour for the sort of thing this being used for.
Jonathan's probably the best. Yeah, Jonathan's probably best to answer that.
I'll jump in, Emily. So, as you rightly say, Matt, it's a really wide spectrum of projects that we see this being used for. I think a good example from Oldham's perspective was we had a piece of work a couple of years ago where we wanted to evidence the impact that our cooperative approach was having in Oldham, and we wanted a specialist in cooperative ways of working to basically come in and do some evaluation across our partnership. So basically interviews with a wide range of partners to understand the difference of that our cooperative approach was having versus and you know other local authorities, and they came in and did that piece of work for us. That was the piece of work I referred to at the start, Collaborate's piece of work. We've also drawn down some expertise in the past around behavioural analysis. So we had someone from the Behavioural Insights team come in and provide some expertise around council tax collection and around how we could better retain council tax through small changes to how we basically word council tax letters. So it really is a huge spectrum of stuff, and I think it's just about having, and this has been one of the challenges in the past actually, about getting people to use the framework. People perhaps haven't really understood what it can be used for. So one of the things that we're really keen to capture, and one of the things I was talking about at one of the last exec oversight committee meetings that we had, was almost having some kind of case studies pack to show how people are using the dynamic purchasing system. So actually having something that goes up on the website every time someone uses it, so we can capture that and share it with other local authorities, so people can start to learn a bit more about how we are all using it and about some of the advantages that we are gaining from using it too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So kind of mainly around well, I guess kind of professional services and consultancy kind of support with evaluating and setting up kind of cooperative arrangements. Is that kind of a reasonable summary, or not quite?
I think it is a reasonable summary. I think that is the key. The key bit is the cooperative values and principles. It's about finding new and cooperative ways of working with partners, with communities, to do things differently across the local government sphere. So as long as we're hitting those key areas, you know, cooperative working, doing things differently, working with other organisations and communities, that is sort of it.
Thanks.
No worries. Any more questions, folks?
Hi, so I was just going to say about the terms and conditions of the contract. Are they all set and prepared and so able to be sent out as part of the
yes,
of the DPS?
Yeah, they said those are all you know, I can issue anything that people, but yeah, they are.
Fantastic, thank you.
And I guess in terms of sorry, so I probably should have been able to look this up, but I haven't yet. So is it kind of open to any local authority? Do we have to kind of become a member, or how does that bit work?
So it's open to members of the Co-op Council's Innovation Network, of which Bristol City Council is a member.
Which of course I knew.
Which of course you knew. So I think everyone on this call is a member of the Co-op Council's Innovation Network. If you've been invited onto the call, you should be a member, so you should be able to use the DPS.
Okay.
Anyone
Sorry,
else?
just a quick.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question. Shaketa Cardiff Council. Is there like a levy arrangement that works in the background for this, or is there? Sorry, I was just asked to attend the call from a procurement standpoint, or is it just like a mutual to use the DPS? Is there a charge to the local authorities that are part of the
No,
co-op?
there's no charge. No charge.
Right.
No. Oh, there's not a charge from a procurement perspective. Jonathan, is there from a CCIN perspective?
No. It's one of the benefits of being a member of the network is access to this DPS.
Okay, fab. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to access sorry, our authority doesn't allow Zoom, so I've dialed into this. But I'm assuming all the slide deck will be available at some point in the near future, just recirculated to everybody.
Yeah, the slide deck will be circulated, and what we're also going to do, we're going to circulate a bit of a frequently asked questions. So any of the questions that have come up today on this call will be included. But if anyone does have any questions that they forget to ask today, they're more than welcome to send them in, and we can include those on the frequently asked questions too.
Okay, fabulous.
And timings wise, is it kind of up and running and open to use yet, or?
Yeah. The DPS went live from the 1st of April, so yeah, you're able to use it. What system do Bristol use?
We use ProContract. It's by Pro.
Right, okay.
So yeah, I mean, by the sound of it, yeah, we could just kind of use that to run the mini comps.
So I think there is a way. You'd have to get the instructions to copy it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Thanks.
Any more questions, or are you all going to go really easy on us?
Hi, this is Hiran from London Borough Brent. There is no direct award mechanism?
No.
No, it's all mini competition. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, sorry, just another question, Shaketa Cardiff Council. So there's nothing stopping us having stages in the DPS as long as that's spelled out so people could deselect themselves, so like an expression of interest stage, and then those invited to tender type thing. So we could decide. There's nothing stopping us doing a hybrid within the DPS as long as we invite everyone at the outset.
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, to be fair, it's not one that I've actually thought of an answer. What I would say is at this moment in time, I wouldn't want to say yes or no. So if I can take that question away, and then when Jonathan and Nicola publish the frequently asked questions, I'll provide a response then. Is that okay? I just wouldn't.
No, that's
I'd hate
fine.
to
It's
say
what we
yes
do.
or no, and then it's wrong.
No, that's absolutely fine.
But yeah, no, I'll take that away, and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, another one from me. Apologies, I think this is about my 6th question. In terms of the stuff that the suppliers, the stuff that has been checked as part of them coming onto the DPS, so that's, by the sound of it, there's a common set of terms and conditions. There's general kind of how the mini comp's going to work. Have you kind of, what other things, is there anything else that you kind of checked as part of the process of being accepted onto the DPS, or is it fairly kind of light touch, or what's that kind of look like?
No, I mean, we've sent out our standard selection questionnaire. So everything, you know, we've kind of done, you know, finance checks. So all their kind of company background has been looked into. We've also got, you know, some of the technical side of it. So kind of previous experience, which Jonathan evaluated with a colleague, has also been looked into. So they do go through quite a robust process to get to the point of being accepted on.
Perfect, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Well, that's been a nice, easy and straightforward Zoom call. That'll be the most straightforward today. Nicola, is there anything you want to add or anything that I've missed?
No, I think we've covered it. What I'll do after this call is everybody that said that they were attending, I'll send out who I think was on the call. I'm conscious that there's a few people that dialed in, so I don't have their names. So we'll check that out. I'll also send out the recording and the slides. And as has already been mentioned, if you've got any other questions you'd like us to put in the frequently asked questions, which we'll circulate and put on the website. There was a link in the original invitation, so you can see there's a guide there on how to use it. I'm going to go back and have a look at that and maybe supplement some of the bits with what Emily's added today, things that I just need to check that are there. So that we can make it as easy for you to use as possible. And as Emily said, the organisations, the 18 organisations that are on there, been through a robust process, and the idea is to make your lives as easy and as possible to be able to draw from that. So hopefully we'll get some contracts awarded.
Excellent, thank you, Nicola. And actually, just to say very, very quickly, as a finisher, we are actually going to be using the dynamic purchasing system as a network soon, aren't we? To draw down some expertise to support one of our policy labs.
Yeah. So we've got one piece of work that's ready to go, and I know that Southampton, who won some work through the policy prototypes this year, are keen to draw down some expertise to help them run some of those projects as well. So hopefully within the next month we'll have 3 pieces that have gone out, because we want to keep these businesses you know, looking out for all these opportunities. So you know, and I'm here to help you get that message out as well. So if you've got a piece of work, you know, I'm happy to encourage everybody that's on there to look out for it and to apply.
Well, great. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming on the call today. We'll hopefully get something circulated to you before the end of the week, including the slide deck. And we'll hopefully speak to you all again.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.